The domain of online data collection is very little understood, and its centrality to online life, combined with its relative obscurity, naturally arouses some people's concerns. In this presentation, we've got Bright Data, formerly Luminati Networks CEO, Or Lenchner. He's going to be addressing this obscurity and shedding a bright light on the facts. How is online data collection being used and why? He'll also ask the critical questions of why this growing domain is so misunderstood and what's needed to change both these misconceptions some people have and the industry as a whole.
Thank you. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. My name is Or Lenchner, and I'm the CEO of what used to be called, until last night, Luminati Networks. Now, I'm happy to announce and say that we're Bright Data. I'm sure you would agree that it's a much better name. And if you haven't heard about us, we are an online data collection platform working with some of the largest organizations in the world. We're based in Israel, but spread globally with around 230 team members. It's no coincidence that we tailor the announcement to this event. We see this event as a pivotal to our involvement as an online data collection company, and our mission to deliver web transparency reflects it. Now, I know some of you may think differently. Some of you even sent us and the World Ethical Data Forum messages about it. I'll address it all in a minute. So yeah, these quotes are not that nice. Take a second to read a few of them, not easy. They were collected over the past couple of weeks, and some of them may even have said by some of you here, some of the attendees, addressing our domain and also specifically our company. These quotes really make us aware of the questions we want to address here today. Why is there so much confusion about our domain and so many misunderstandings about our industry? Going back to the quote just briefly, you would have thought that someone is relating to violations of the law just by reading those quotes, a couple of them. It's time to ask the hard questions. Do you think online data collection is justified? Who or what do you think is responsible for the bad reputation it has acquired over the years? Is it up to communicating it better? Maybe better market education? How can we fix this negative perception and create, I would say, more clarity? Before I address all these questions, let's start with a very basic question, a very basic one. Is online data a problem or a solution? If it's automating so much manual work, why is it not justified? Yes, we are referring to, and hear me well, to a bot. I said the sensitive word. If its intentions are good at the core, we need to address those accusations, and I think that right here, right now, it's a good opportunity. So why and how do we use online data and online data collection? Since I'm a positive and optimistic guy at the core, I'm going to share some examples of the benefits being generated by online data sources. And if you look at all of them, just quickly, I can sum it up in one sentence, at least from my point of view. What you see here on the screen fuels open competition, technological innovation, research, and make all of us much, but much smarter. Here are some examples I thought of sharing with you that show interesting use cases of online data that can actually benefit society, whether it's to promote diversity within a workforce, like in this example, the US-based innovative startup Medicine does, or to help sexually abused teenagers by finding them safer homes, like Elem here in Israel does, or maybe from a more technological point of view, test and protect us from malware, like abuse.ch is focused on. Online data is an essential part of these very worthy missions and there are many more just like it. Online data also assists in academic research. Here's just a quick glance at just a few of the academic institutions we happily support with our Bright initiative. Excuse me. If you're interested in using our data collection platform for research, you can contact us, me personally, afterwards. We'll be happy to assist. So new industry or new technology always bring new lessons learned. It's inevitable. This is just a short list of actions that sometimes data collection networks suffer from, actions we all must take major steps to actively fight against. These actions often speak for the entire domain, and I believe immensely damage our collective mission, as well as the future of the entire data domain. Like with any developing technology and dynamic industry, we must keep a close eye on these possible activities, quickly learn how to identify them, and most important, take measures to stop them. Here are just some measures that have proven to help data collection networks. Over the years, we have developed an entire mechanism to make every effort to identify, prohibit, and eliminate security threats, from defining your use case to vetting potential customers and security checks. This is a never-ending process, never ends, especially when it comes to our rapidly advancing industry. Every day, just something new. As this picture, which I really liked, this meme that our social media department created, it speaks louder than 1,000 words. I think this meme clearly expresses how online data collection is viewed by all possible angles of society, including my own parents, I would say. My mother thinks I collect facts from the newspaper, while society thinks sometimes I engage in possible fraud. The truth, as you know, is neither. No wonder it's so misunderstood, right? So, I mean, it's complicated to explain. So now that we have clearly stated the problem and the huge challenge in generating the trust, let's work on the solution quickly. Quick question. Do you know what is the #1 must-have ingredient to generate trust, or I would say demonstrating trustworthiness? I would say, and I would argue, that it all starts and is all based on transparency. Transparency is the mother of all solutions, especially when it comes to data collection. Finally, I bring up the ethical world. Okay? It has to come sometime. That's the time to bring it up. A lot of people ask me whether ethical data collection is an important factor. Isn't data privacy regulation might be enough? Why do we need, I would say, ethical standards when it comes to data collection? So just to quickly touch on it, you need to look at the entire sourcing of the data process, not just about the existing privacy laws that are very targeted and specific to certain areas. Second thing is that the ways to maintain the integrity of the digital ecosystem, this is also something that you need to keep in mind. And it should always be inspired by do no harm. If online data collection is done in the wrong way, it can easily damage every bit of the website. And I have, I think, a nice analogy that can demonstrate that. Imagine a fisherman going out to the ocean to catch fish. That's his business, and this is how we bring his monthly salary home. And if this fisherman will try to catch too many fish in a very short period of time, he is taking a risk in damaging the ecosystem that serves him. Now, if he'll damage the ecosystem, the ocean in this case, he won't be able to come back the next season to catch fish. His colleagues won't be able to also to catch fish. And obviously, those who will get damaged the most are the fish. Now, in the digital world, that ocean is the web, it's the internet. And if you will go to collect this data, those fish, in an irresponsible way, you're risking in damaging the whole ecosystem, which will damage you, your colleagues, and more important, the actual internet users. What is the solution to maintain an ethical web data collection process? What is it? One way the World Ethical Data Forum and ourselves at Bright Data thought is providing guidelines. Easy as that, but someone needs to do that. An understandable working framework. If you wish, a committee. That is a one that is led by experts, driven by clarity, and as mentioned, does no harm. This is what we think could be the solution. Why? Simple. It will provide clear standards and remove all of the complex guesswork out of the equation, prevent all of us in the data collection domain from making critical mistakes that put all of us at risk, in most cases just because we don't know enough. The committee will shed a bright light, I would say, on the obscure and provide answer through frequent updates. Well, our time's up, and that's the end of our presentation. I hope I addressed the issues and answered the critical questions. Every decision we make these days relies on data. No one can argue differently. Almost every business and organization in the world is data-driven today. Even if not actively, and they don't think about it, this is how it actually works. The three key guidelines to data collection, as I mentioned, are transparency, which is based on profound knowledge and focus on do no harm. Most importantly, online data collection should be done right and bright, I would say. If you want to join our expert-led ethical committee, please contact me directly, and I'll also be happy to answer any questions if anyone has. Okay, so one question that I got so far. How can companies be more transparent other than having everything stated in the privacy policy statement? Okay, so privacy policy statement is important. However, that's not really what I was referring to. It's important and it should list everything, but this is about private data, okay? We're talking about data collection of publicly available data from the web, okay? So if you're a company that relies on data to get decisions, usually what you'll be doing is to collect data that is publicly out there. For example, prices of products that your competitors are selling, or understand what users are saying about your product. So you will collect some user sentiment review and user reviews and things like that. This is a type of data that I was referring to, which is less relevant to the privacy policy statement, which is also important and should be written properly, but that's not actually the subject we're talking about. Other questions? Is there a challenge in making data ethics fun and or interesting to the wide audiences? Wow, that's a very creative and good question. I think that it's interesting for sure. I'm not sure about the fun. So yes, our data is out there, all of our data, and it's being collected. This is one way to make people care, because their private data is also being publicly presented in some cases. That's just one thing. If the audiences or the users will understand that every single interaction that they are doing on the web is impacted by data collection, it will be interesting for them. For example, when you want to buy a new product or when you want to rent a car, usually you will open like 5 different tabs on your browser and you'll start comparing as an individual consumer. If you know that while you're doing it, those different companies that you're comparing are actually checking one another as if they are real consumer to quickly tweak their offering to the user in order to win this conversion, then it's becoming very interesting. Another example, if you're using a mobile app, for example, or just browsing the web and you see an advertisement, if you as a user or audiences, as it was in the question, understand that there's a complete massive infrastructure behind the scenes of massive data collection that is collecting this content, these ads, to verify that they are not considered as malware or a phishing attempt and things like that, then it will become interesting. So if the audiences will understand that in every impact on the web, they are, in every interaction on the web, they are being impacted by this type of data collection operation eventually, then it will become interesting. Another question. What, in your opinion, is the most pressing threat or concern behind data collection? Yeah, so that's an easy answer because the concern is real. The major concern as I see it is not to collect data in an irresponsible way and in an unethical manner, actually, and overload the website that is hosting that publicly available data. By doing so, you can actually break down the whole website, and the servers will go down just for the extreme load. So, and now the damage is real, okay? So if you'll do that, real consumers won't be able to approach that website and buy something or to read news or whatever it will be. But a server won't necessarily always host data. A server can also be a hospital server. And if that server will go down because too much load, that's becoming dangerous. So for sure, the most pressing threat and concern is throttling and throttling the data collection operation and making sure it fits the target that hosts the data. Another question. Is being able to learn about, use and understand data still locked behind institutional privilege such as a university degree or other financial factors? So I think I understand the question, and if I have, then it's also an easy answer for me. So I personally never did an academic degree. I just went straight into the business, and that's the best way in my eyes, in my view, to learn. And data is becoming a commodity, okay? And data collection processes are the engine behind the actual data that then the companies are utilized to get decisions. So that infrastructure of data collection is also becoming a commodity. I don't think that it's necessary to do something special and go to learn for a few years. Actually, what I would suggest is just to start working and start doing things hands-on. That's the best way to learn. I hope I understand the question right. Let's see, another question. So from John, thanks Or and Bright Data. The automated data collection industry and what it does is pretty hard to understand, as you have said. How are you going to be clear about any changes? Are the behavior and the efficiency of the changes to that behavior verifiable? How will the public know? So as I said, it's all start from the understanding that the key ingredient is transparency. What we're doing now is a good example, I think. What we're doing together with the World Ethical Data Forum is a good example. And the committee that I just showed in my slides is also a good example. Now, no one can commit that eventually all of the industry will follow the standards, the guidelines, the rules, and so on. But at least it will enhance and amplify the transparent part. And then the users themselves and the businesses that are consuming the data collection operation at least will have better visibility to be able to judge for themselves. Another question. Okay, when speaking about companies using your interaction to tweak their prices, would you say that it would also be ethically necessary to make users aware of this happening? I feel that it would be just another click away field like the current GDPR cookies acceptance. How can one avoid psychological habitation effect of these measures? Okay, so I just want to clarify this. The web today, for many years, holds immense and massive discrimination. That's the truth. So if I'm here sitting in Israel, we'll go to a product page on an e-commerce website, and Theresa that asked this question wherever you are, whatever device you're using, will go exactly at the same time to that same product page. We'll just share here in the chat the link. Most chances that we will see different content, maybe different prices and things like that. Maybe that it won't be available for me for some reason, but usually different prices. So this is the problem. The problem is that it's already happening. You should always suspect that someone else sees different content. It can sometimes cost you if we're talking about buying a product, and sometimes it's just seeing a different ad. So the damage is probably lower. The data collection that I'm talking about is to be able to properly compete. Think about driving a highway in the physical world and seeing this massive billboard on the side of the road, and your competitor is advertising there. It's easy to compete. You just pick up the phone. You're asking your team to get a bigger sign in a better place, and also to cut down the prices by 20%. Okay? And you know that everyone that will drive in this route will see your content, and you can compete this way. The internet doesn't work this way, and each of us are driving their own highway, which also means that we see different virtual billboards, so different content. The only way to actually understand what's going on and see the web, the truth from real users' eyes, is by using data collection platforms. And if you'll do that, then you bring back transparency. Transparency equals competition. So the problem is already there. There's price discrimination and other type of virtual discriminations, I will call it. The solution is to be able to see the absolute truth. So if you're a commercial organization, in this case, seeing the absolute truth means seeing what your competitors are doing for each persona or online individual. Then you can take your price lower in this example, which is always a good thing for the consumer, obviously. Think about a world where everyone are completely blind to what their competitors are doing. It means no transparency, which means no competition, which means prices going high and high and high all the time. I hope I answered that. Another question. Okay, you said you didn't do a degree in this. I didn't do a degree at all, nothing. What would your advice be to someone also without an academic background in this to get into the data industry? First of all, I'm hiring, so feel free to contact. We're always hiring. What I would actually suggest, we're talking about the data collection industry. I can't talk about other industries within the data world. Okay, so let's talk just about the data collection industry. I would suggest to start and use free tools to collect online, publicly available online data. Okay, it's a skill that you can learn quite easily. There are things that you won't be able to do yourself probably ever because you need a robust infrastructure like Bright Data. However, the basics are relatively easy to learn. Just Google it and find nice places, easy demos to learn from, and just start collecting publicly available data in low scale. Check yourself. Try to qualify the data. See if you were able to collect all of the data. Maybe you got blocked. Maybe some of the data is corrupted, because data quality is probably the #1 priority when you're dealing with data. So just start engaging with it and shoot me an email. That's also a good place to start. Do you think data collection has suffered from cancel culture? Unfortunately, I didn't really understand the question. If you can elaborate a bit, just adding some clarification. Well, in the meantime, I'll be happy if you'll visit brightdata.com. We just launched the new website yesterday, and visit the social networks of Bright Data. We just launched them also yesterday. Follow us and and ask us anything, really anything. You have my email, you have my Twitter and LinkedIn, not just mine. Every person in Bright Data will be happy to answer any question, if it's career related, if it's ethics related, if it's a professional question, technical question. Okay, so another question, I guess the last one, from Zelina. So the dark web probably counts as publicly available, right? What doesn't? Okay, so first of all, how we in our company define publicly available data is if you, as an individual with a laptop or a mobile phone, can visit that website just by clicking the URL and going to that website and see the content, that's publicly available data. So for your question, I'm not sure that you can do that with dark web. It's not that easy. So I would say that no. But I think that the better part of the question is what doesn't. So what doesn't consider as publicly available data? Again, by our personal definitions, and also what we're trying to achieve with the ethical committee. So as I said, if as an individual you can see the content, it's publicly available information. If, for example, you need to do a login process, then it's not a publicly available information. That login is like a key to a locked room. You don't steal keys, you don't fake keys, you don't break the door, you don't do any of these. So that data behind these login processes and keys isn't really considered to be private, publicly available data. Okay, we got an elaboration on the cancel culture question. Thanks. I'll read it. As in, do we just automatically assume data collection as a whole is bad or evil because of the risks involved? Do we have a tendency to overlook the positiveness? There's a danger of missing out on the benefits if we just assume it's all bad. Yes, exactly. For a good reason, I started with all of these nasty quotes. This is the perception currently. We're trying to change it by being transparent, just being here and answering on questions, doing this presentation, showing you real customer names and logos in one of the slides and what they're doing with our platform. And I'm sure that it's also happening with other platforms. This is how it really works. So I believe that the positive side of data collection is way, way bigger than the negative side. It wasn't always the case. This industry suffers from bad reputation because historically bots were only used as bad bots to attack a website, to do a brute force attack to try and check, to try to log into a website, things like that. The industry has shifted. It's not that the bad guys became good guys. It's just that good use cases has emerged into the industry, and then companies like Bright Data, for example, were burned into the digital world to serve only and only the good use cases. So good question. And last one in capital letters. Are there some fields where you as a company don't collect data because you consider it unethical? Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'll just give you one example, obviously a real example. So there's data collection. Really, it's not just collection. It can also be data like creation. So we have massive demand, and we don't allow even one customer in this field to engage with our system in order to publish data on social networks. Now, we don't allow any fake engagement. This is, again, our definition. We got this decision around 3 years ago when we started getting prospect approaches asking to create fake engagement, for example, to create fake followers on Twitter, to create fake likes on Instagram, things like that, that we couldn't realize where's the value in the world for it. And just I'll finish. We have a long list of things that we don't allow, and we interview every single customer before they start working with us. I'll finish with my personal test for how to know if something is ethical or not. And things can change, but it's worked for me like 90% of the times. Remove the money factor for just 1 second. Okay, think for yourself as a business that I won't earn anything if I'll support this, and it won't cost me anything if I'll support this. Then it all becomes super extremely clear that, okay, I shouldn't be engaging with that, or yeah, that's fine, it's actually valuable to the world, let's do it. And then you can add the money factor and get the business decisions. Okay, so I think our time is up. Thank you everyone for listening, and please do contact me about anything.